Today, we have RIT's all-time coaching leader in wins and 2006 RIT Athletics Hall of Fame inductee. He begins his 28th season with the Tigers. In that span, he has led them to several championships and making their first NCAA D3 championship appearance. He has coached many players who have had outstanding season and careers, some even breaking school records such as Justin Smith and Jeff Dorrance. He graduated RIT in 1988, where he played outfield. He is among the career leaders in runs scored, walks, on-base percentage, and set the Tigers' single season record with a 554 on-base percentage. Machine. RIT is ranked as the number 104 best school in the nation, and if his boys don't get drafted, they get a job through their kind of they get a job through one of their one-of-a-kind co-op program once they graduate. He is a legendary coach, and even better person, Coach Rob Growe.
Hey, man, thanks.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you. So
a lot of years, huh?
Yeah, a lot of years. I appreciate you being on. So first off, I just want you to talk about your team and talk about your season this year. And congrats, by the way. You guys were starting off pretty good this year. But, yeah, talk about your season.
Yeah, for us, we traditionally are a slow starting team. It takes us a while to kind of figure out where we're at, figure out our roles. We had some pretty defined roles in our starting pitching, but our relief staff, we had to figure out who was going to step up into roles. We had some guys jumping into the lineup that were brand new. So, and we played some of the top teams in the country right out of the gate, right? So, we didn't do ourselves any favor with scheduling and going with a soft schedule to try and figure it out. We had to try and figure it out while we were playing some really, really good teams. So, I think, the thing for us, and before we get into conference play, is we're trying to figure out what's going to work for us this year. We don't have a cookie cutter approach to, hey, this is our offense. This is how we're going to pitch. This is, we have standard defense, but, when it comes to the pitching and the offensive side, we're going to do what makes each individual the best and work to their strengths. And I think that's one of the things that I love about our approach and our coaching and the coaches that I have working with me is we always are looking to how best make that individual better within the team, rather than saying, hey, this is the way we all hit, this is the way we all throw. There's core throwing skills and there's core things you have to do to hit, but everybody's body is a little bit different. So we've really been able to do a better job with knowing how people move and what limitations they have and trying to coach the individual rather than just having a programmatic approach to everything.
Okay, awesome. Do you guys have like a model or a slogan? At UCLA, we had a model. We had our slogan, and I was talking to yesterday. I was talking to University of Miami, and they had a model and slogan as well. So I wanted to ask you guys, what model or slogan do you guys have?
Yeah, so each year we go through goal setting and leadership training. We've got a pretty good program set up there where we have Dave Kajanik, who used to be our hitting coach. He comes in, he does a lot of leadership training now, and he runs through our guys' team goals and things like that. So we're very goal-oriented. We haven't had a slogan really stick to us, but the one that I like that I want to bring back is process. Simple, just process, right? So if we can trust our process, we can trust the individuals we're working with, process. If we've got a good process going, we'll have good results. So that's the one that I think is going to make a comeback and probably start sticking on the shirts more than anything else. Family is important. I mean, we have a very good family feel to our program. Our alumni stay engaged and involved for their entire lives. I've been there almost 30 years now, so I've coached almost everybody. But go back into the 50s, so I haven't coached everybody. Family is huge importance to us. We want to have competition, but we want to do it the right way. But the one thing that I think is going to be the motto is going to be process.
Let's switch it over to hitting. Like, what's your secret sauce? I know you have Jeff Albert. If you guys don't know, he's the hitting coach of the Cardinals, and he went to R.I.T., and he's a good friend of mine. He's our connection. And, know that you have those guys there, and then your hitting philosophy. Do you guys intertwine those hitting philosophies, or you just have your own philosophy about hitting?
Well, I think I think it evolves, right? I mean, one of the nice things about Jeff is, Jeff played for us back in 2000, but he's one of the youngest, brightest minds out there in baseball, right? He knows hitting better than anybody else. So he's always stayed connected to the program. We've always talked. He's helped bring me along. He's been my professional development for sure. But I think, and I have a core set of values and beliefs of how I hit. And, I talk to people about that. But when it comes to our process for hitting, it's evolving. It's always changing. And now more than ever with technology, at R.I.T, we've really embraced the technology. We've got a ton of it. We're working through the best ways to use it. But we've also really embraced the pitching machines, hitting off pitching machines, playing up a little bit in practice rather than having those easy days of BP, boom, boom, boom. Our guys get challenged. We'll hit for an hour, and the first 20 minutes will be feel-good stuff. But then we're going to get after it for a while and really challenge them with velocity, movement, different shaped pitches, curveballs, sliders, left-handed, right-handed, different decision-making processes. So we're going to try and touch on everything in the hitting environment that we've set up now. We have a very good facility to do that in. So we're blessed with that. And we took advantage of it this year, and I think did a better job than we've ever done on the hitting side. And Brett Kajanik is our hitting coach. He's a young guy. But we sent Brett and one of our other young coaches, Brian Sheridan, we sent them down to Slugfest. Something that Jeff helped put on down in Florida. But they went to Slugfest, and they were talking with some of the top Division I coaches, University of Michigan. And then all the pros were there. And every pro organization sends their people there. So this was the best hitting conference in the world. And we had 2 coaches there from a Division III school.
That's awesome. Yeah, if you guys have ever been to or haven't been to R.I.T, they have a lot of great machines there that they use. I've been there helping coaching and just being around. They've also have the hit tracks to help you get better. They have so many technologies to help you as a baseball player. So everything he's saying is dead on. I enjoyed being there, and I'm glad that he let me be around and help the guys. So,
great having you be able to, the things that you can help with are some technical stuff, but the mindset stuff and the way you talk to our guys about hitting and approach and things like that, invaluable stuff, just the best.
I appreciate that. When it comes to another question I have, because there's several players on right now, what would be your advice to those young players?
As far as hitting goes, just hit, right? I think one of the reasons I was a good hitter back in the day is we played in the backyard. We played every kind of thing we could hit, we hit. Don't break stuff at home, but wiffle ball is good. Whatever you can do to hit, just hit. And it's hard right now, so wiffle ball might be one of the better things to do. But get out there and do it. My college roommate and I, he was lucky enough to sign with the Giants. He was a pitcher, big kid, 6'5". We used to go out behind our apartment, and he had a tennis ball and I had a fungo bat, and he'd throw it to me any different way he wanted to, and I had to try and hit it with that. That's not easy. To square up a tennis ball is not easy, and have a fungo bat in hand is not easy, right? So those were my ways of challenging myself. But I think the fun aspect of it is huge, right? If you can social distance with 2 or 3 people and still play wiffle ball, then have at it. Do a little wiffle ball and just keep swinging and keep trying to find the joy of the game with whatever you're doing, especially now. Now it can be harder when we're not with each other as much. So reconnect with what you really love about the game and try and make sure you're enjoying what you're doing.
Let's flip it over to the recruiting side. When it comes to recruiting players, let's start with position players. What do you look for? Is there a specific checklist, criteria you go off?
Yeah, for us, it's a bit different, right? Being in Division III, no scholarships to offer. So that's a limiting factor for us. But, the reality of it, the best programs have 11.7 scholarships, right? So they're parceling those things out and everything like that. So one of the first things that we look for, that a lot of programs look for more than you might think, is can you get into our college? Do you have the grades to get into our college? Are you a serious student? Because those things are important. It's college baseball, right? So the college aspect of it is hugely important. Are you serious about college? So that's one of the things that we first look for in any player. right? And then when we start getting to the physical attributes and things like that, we've had some kids that have been pretty small that have been great players. We had some kids that are pretty big that have been great players. We had a kid drafted in 2017, Will Gorman. He was a monster. He was 6'3", 210, 220, whatever, could run like the wind, had a great arm, power, right? Who doesn't love that kid? But we've also had kids named Tim Hearn and Zach Zabel that were 5'6", right? But they could run the bases and they played great defense. They both played second base. Two probably Hall of Famers for us. So we get the luxury of really looking for baseball players, right? And, we do like the size, we do like the speed, all those things. But what I've really started to tend towards is, can the kid play the game? Does he have an aggression about him? Can he steal some bases? Does he run the bases well? Things that you don't really think about, things that are hard to teach inside, right? When we can do batting and we can do the hitting and everything like that, swing looks good, but can you run the bases? Do you have an aggression to your game? And that's an important thing. There's not a ton of really, really super high level defenders or super high level base runners anymore, right? So if you can find a kid that's got some aggression in his game, can run the bases. I like that. I like that a lot.
Let's flip it on the other side. Pitchers. What about pitchers?
Similar there too, right? Everybody's drawn to the 6'4", guy that can really bring it. We've had kids 5'9", 5'10", gunslinger types, man. Had the right attitude. We had this kid, Brandon Cohall. He was a gunslinger. You want him on your side. He could paint. He could put the ball where he wanted. He had a nasty slider. He could get anybody out. And then, this year we got a kid, Stevie Branch, 6'4". He's come a long way. He's worked really super hard. Our pitching coach, Greg Cagle, he pitched in the big leagues, and he's worked with him. Tyler Lichtenberger's worked with him a lot. Stevie's come from 85, 86, and this year, his senior year, we had several scouts out watching him in Florida. He hit 95.
Dang.
Pitched at 92 the entire 6 innings he was in there. Had cross-checkers flying in to see him, but then everybody got pulled off the road. So we still think he's going to get drafted. They were talking about drafting him in the top 5 to 10 rounds. So we'll see. Hopefully he'll still get drafted. He'll get a chance to play professionally, but that'll be our second kid in the last 3 years drafted and go off to play out of a Division III program. So that's pretty good. But, again, getting back to what we look for, command is big for us, and swing and miss. If you can get some swing and miss, you're going to be a good pitcher.
Has that always been your style, or before was it different?
Yeah, again, some of it's difficult because you don't get to see kids as many times as you would like, right? Ideally, we get to see a kid pitch 3 times in 3 different days, 3 different settings. That would be optimal for us, but it just doesn't happen that much anymore. So, the swing and miss is really big. I think everybody likes that. And for us, it doesn't have to be huge velocity, but just swing and miss. If you can make somebody swing and miss, that's a good thing, right? So we have a kid coming from Virginia that came to camp that had good command of his fastball and spun it better than anybody I've seen in a long time. And he's coming this year. He's going to get right into a role right away, because I know that if I put him in a situation, he's going to get a couple outs all by himself.
That's amazing. All right, keep it going. What age can you expect to be recruited or looked at by your program?
So we have a hard time getting more than 1 year ahead of ourselves. I'm a pretty simple man, and unfortunately, we're still working on 2020s, right? There's still 3 kids out there that aren't sure where they're going to go. Deadline got pushed out by a month now, so but we've still got a couple kids that are trying to make up their mind. We've certainly talked to 2021s, but we're usually a year out, right? So we're looking at that junior class this summer. We already know 2021s that we want to see. We've got a list of 30 kids probably that have been in touch with us, or we've seen last year in showcases in different environments, and we like them. So we have to follow back up with them. But beyond that, it's difficult for us. We have camps. So if you come to one of our camps and you're younger, you're in our list, in our database. We're going to follow up and we're going to watch you. But there's so much going on in the recruiting world now with showcases and tournaments and things like that. If we get too much farther ahead than that, it's difficult. So we try and really focus on that junior class. But we'll watch some sophomores this year too. So 2021s, 2022s this year.
Are there stats that you look at that is considered, D3?
So stats are always tricky, right? I mean, what kind of league do you play in, and what's your competition like? So stats are tough. I think one of the things you mentioned earlier was on base percentage. I do like to see guys that get on base, right? If you have much higher walks than you do strikeouts, that usually translates, right? You have some sort of plate discipline. So plate discipline is important for me. We talk about it a lot, and we trained it a lot better this year, I think, because of the machines we had and things like that. We're able to train plate discipline a little bit better. So that's something that regardless of your competition level, usually can translate. So if you have good plate discipline and if you have more walks than strikeouts. Now, I'm not saying I'm looking for guys that walk all the time. I want guys that hit the ball and put the ball and play hard, right? But you got to get your pitch and drive it. If you don't get your pitch, you got to move on, and you got to take your walks. You got to get on base. You can't if you don't get on base.
Should a recruit contact you or wait to be recruited?
No, man, this is your process. All you guys that are out there right now, this is your process. If you're going to wait for a coach to come see you, there's too many kids out there for us to find exactly you, right? So I see James Bolton's name on here. James, if you're looking to go somewhere, right, you got to get after it and make contact with coaches. That's the best way. This is your process. Regardless of what's going on in the world and everything right now, it's going to change some things a little bit, right? But also, we might have more kids in our program right now because kids are going to stay a little bit longer now. So every college coach has got to kind of figure that out. But the one thing I always tell kids is you need to control the process, right? You need to control the process. So I think the best thing to do from that standpoint is, depending on how old you are, try and figure out what you want to do with your life. What do you want to be? What schools can help you be that, right? So have an idea. I want to be a teacher. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a nurse. I want to be engineer. We're very good at engineering, by the way. Science, all those type of things. We're really good at that stuff. So, but figure out what you want to be, and then go to different levels. If you found 10 schools that you like, a couple of them are Division I, a couple are Division II, a couple are Division III. That's great. Talk to all of them, because you'd be surprised. We have some really good things happening in our program that many Division I programs don't even have, right? So just because of Division III programs after you doesn't mean that they're not going to be able to, A, coach you up, B, have great facilities, and C, and more importantly, probably have better education.
So the next question is, how should a player/parent go about getting exposure? What are the best ways? Email, showcase, video, social media, camps? Which ones would you recommend?
So again, I would cover all your bases and do it all. If you're that good and you can do those things, because we're talking to two kids from Colorado that were all social media driven. Flat ground, right? There's stuff on there, and we've got a coach that's looking at that stuff. And I just talked to a kid today, a junior college kid out of Colorado, that we saw by social media. His season got cut short, but he's still looking to come somewhere. He's an engineer, mechanical engineer, so it's a good fit as far as that goes. But that was a social media thing that we would have never been looking at a couple years ago. So even us, even a coach that's been in 30 years, still there's some social media stuff that someone else is paying attention to, not me. But we know that that's important, right? So we're paying attention to the social media stuff. So social media is important. But I always think that reaching out by email is a good way to go. Coaches get a ton of emails. But if somebody says, hey, Coach Growe, my name is, and I'm interested in R.I.T. because I want to do this, I get back in touch with that kid all the time. Now, I delete a ton of other emails, by the way. If it doesn't have my name in it, if they're not interested in something, if it's just a blanket email, I probably don't even look at it because we get that many emails, right? And then the showcases are really important. Head First does a great job. Play to Win is really, really good, and an organization that I like working with. So showcases are good because coaches are there. You've got anywhere from 30 to 60 coaches watching, right?
Which showcases are those?
Head First is really good. They do all over the country. Play to Win all over the country. Those two are some of the top ones that we like to work with. There's others out there for sure, but those two do a really good job. And they're looking for kids that are academic kids too, right? Because they're easier to place. So if you're going to do those type of things, still you want to drive this thing. You still want to go, okay, here's all the 30 coaches that are going to be there. These are the 5 schools I'm interested in. Make sure that we know you're there, because there could be 100 kids we're going to watch that day.
So do you think it's a little bit different as far as your programs? Because I was just talking to U of M, and he was saying, hey, if you're sending emails or, social media, you probably aren't right for the program, because he's already had, they're getting a lot of people reaching out, and they have, I guess, their luck of who they want. So do you think it's different as far as like the D3 of, they, as a parent, as a player, should be reaching out to more of you guys and like getting themselves out there instead of like a U of M, you get what I'm saying as far as?
Yeah. I mean, obviously it all depends right now. If they don't know you, they don't know you. Right. So you've either got to be in some high level tournament where they're at, or you have to go to their camp and they've got to like you and know you already, or you've got to reach out. I mean, my cousin was assistant coach at Notre Dame, and they got a phone call, and it was one of the top recruits in the country, called Notre Dame. That's how they found out about this kid. Yeah, that's one of the better kids out there. Let's talk to that kid, right? So that kid wasn't shy. He's like, hey, I want to go to Notre Dame, right? So, I mean, they knew who he was, but they hadn't been in contact with him yet. That kid drove that contact, right? So that's a pretty good program. So yeah, I mean, it does depend a little bit, but I think most coaches like kids that are interested in their program, because there's not that many separators, for kids. So if the kid's interested in you and they can get into your school and they're going to do it well academically, they're a good baseball player, you can develop that kid. I think that's a good place to start. And there should be nothing wrong with reaching out, because all they're going to say is, hey, we're good in that position, and move on.
Another question is, you pretty much already answered, I believe. Do you check your email, and does sending video help? These are questions from parents. I'm just asking them. I'm just re-asking them.
Yeah. No, I love seeing video. If somebody sends me an email with an attachment, YouTube, just put something on YouTube or something like that. That's great. I think that's really important, because not only can I look at it, I can send it to my hitting coach, I can send it to my pitching coach, I can send it to all these different people. We can all look at it, and it's a great starting place. And honestly, in the next 4 to 6 months, it might be some of the best way to promote yourself.
On that note, what do you look for in video? Do you just take, let's say, are you looking maybe a 2-minute video or a 5-minute video? Like what is the specific length, and like what are you looking for? Just a few swings, a couple ground balls. Can you just give a detail about that?
Yeah, I think video that stays in that 2.5 minute range is good. Anything longer than that, not a lot of college coaches are going to watch. So any type of metrics you can put on there now are very helpful too. Now, and you can get blast sensors, whatever you can do to put. If you're a pitcher, you can put some, hey, here's a fastball, boom, and you can see how fast it was, and curveball, and you can see the break and how fast it was. So the more metrics you can put on there now too are really good, because people have that. If you're training at a facility that has hit tracks and Rapsodo, use those things. Get that data. Blast has got some really great stuff out there right now too. So, the more you can use metrics to show, because we have all those metrics on our players now. We know what one of our players looks like, and we're building those profiles. So one of the things when we got technology, I told our hitting coach and our pitching coach, you need to build me a profile of what our players look like. So when I'm out recruiting, I know I've got this as our benchmark. Kids at this are pretty close. He's as good as Pat Blackhall, our best RBI guy, right? He's as good as him, right? That's a good, So those type of things are important. Metrics and data, it's a data-driven world now, right? So the more data you can get, the better. So, but keep the videos short. You don't need to see a ton. See from a different few angles, back angle, side angle. See the ball in flight after you hit it is not bad. But if you've got metrics, that helps, because they're going to do all those probability analysis for you too, and everything like that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Do you look for players with a 3.0 to 3.5 GPA as opposed to a player with a 4.0 GPA?
So I don't know that everybody knows how to actually do that properly. We've talked about that in the recruiting. Sometimes you get, hey, I'm a 3.5, and it means different things to different people, right? So R.I.T is a very good school. It's a high academic school. But the way we do it is we we have you apply to your major and you get accepted to your major. So if you want to be an electrical engineer, there's a bar for electrical engineering. If you want to be mechanical engineering, there's a bar. If you want to be math and science, there's a bar. If there's college of business, there's a bar. And they're all different based on how many people are applying to R.I.T. So it's not a university level criteria for us. Some people are like that. And some people don't want SATs or ACTs anymore. Those are optional. We have a couple programs at R.I.T. that are optional now too. But most schools are looking for well-rounded and fairly high GPA and fairly high on the SATs and ACTs. If you get, in the 27 range on the ACTs and 12 to 1300 on the SATs, you're going to be good at most schools. It can be lower than that too. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying for entrance and then for academic money, you're going to want to be at somewhere around those 27, 1300 SATs, 27 ACTs. Usually gets you a good major and some academic money.
Do you recruit players by following them in high school or through showcases?
That's tough. It's tough to see high school, right? Because we play pretty much the same time. So we do see high school for sure, and high school coaches are important to us because they know their kids really well. So high school is definitely important to us, but I can only see high school probably in Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse. That's probably it, right? I get to Albany, Binghamton, but I'm not going to go too far for high school. If I go to a showcase, I could see a kid from California, Texas, Chicago, everywhere, right? So, and we've got kids from all over, like I said, I was just talking to a kid from Colorado today. We've had kids from Arizona. We have a freshman coming from California this year, middle infielder. We have kids from Maryland, Virginia. So, it's not Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse for us by any means. We love those kids, and we get to know those kids maybe a little bit better too sometimes. So, high school is still important, but you just see so many more kids in the travel environment.
I think I pretty much already asked this. Which specific showcases are the best to attend, and can you name a few? Can you name any more than the ones you just named?
Yeah, there's show balls out there. There's I-95. They do a good job. So it's all the way from like Brooklyn down to Virginia, I think. There's a couple others out there that are really good. Down in DC, it's kind of that area though. So Elite Baseball in Pennsylvania does a showcase that's pretty good. I'm going to go down and work that one for the first time, so I'll see more about that. I think they usually do it in Millersville, Pennsylvania. But I think the two that are kind of head and shoulders above and all over the country are Play to Win and Head First.
And let's go into a little bit deeper right now. How does this COVID-19 situation affect the recruiting, and what are you guys planning to do about it when it comes to recruiting?
Yeah, I think we're all trying to figure it out still. It's going to start at the top. Major League Baseball has got to figure out what it's going to do to Major League Baseball and the draft. So once they figure out what that's going to do to the draft and who comes back into the college ranks, because your Power 5 schools, you got a lot of juniors that probably were going to get drafted that might come back now because there's just not that many rounds. There's not that much availability. It's going to be a much different draft this year, and it's going to change the college landscape a little bit. We've got a couple of our players are going to come back for their fifth year. So that impacts a little bit. And then you've got kids that all can reclassify. A freshman can be a freshman again. A sophomore can be a sophomore again. A junior can be a junior again. So and at R.I.T., our engineering is a 5-year major anyways, right? So that's something that we're looking at. And we don't have a handle on yet, quite frankly. The 5-year majors are easy. If you're an engineer, they're going to use their year. But other kids are looking at, do I do a 1-year MBA now in my 5th year and play that 5th year? So those are the things that we'll know better by the next couple of weeks, and definitely by the fall, we'll have a better handle on. But I think most schools will have a little bit bigger roster than they normally have next spring because you've got some carryover.
Yeah, these college baseball is going to be packed. They're going to be packed. Yeah, it's going to be crazy. So. When it comes to scholarships, you say you guys don't do scholarships, but how does that work with your school? Do you guys do more academic scholarships, financial aid? Like, how does that work?
What was that about? Yes.
Can you hear me?
Gotcha now. Yep.
Would you
Yep.
say? I'm sorry.
Were you talking about academic scholarships?
Yeah. How does it work with you guys? Academic scholarships, financial aid. Like how does it work?
Yeah. So being Division III, even our hockey program is a Division I program. They don't have scholarships for athletics either, right? So it's a combination of um, merit for your academics and need-based. So those are the two things that we have at our disposal, and done a pretty good job in the last few years. R.I.T is a private school, so private schools are more than your state schools, but usually there's a reason. I mean, our facilities, our co-op program, there's an awful lot of things you can put in there. There's definitely a great value to what we do at R.I.T. So I've always been excited to bring somebody to R.I.T because I know what's in store for them from an academic side, an athletic side, and then I know afterwards they're getting a job. They're going out into the real world and they're crushing it right away. That kid that I told you about that got to play for the Diamondbacks a couple years ago, he didn't make it in professional baseball, but as soon as he was done, he had a 3.55 GPA in chemical engineering. He's working for Coors out in Colorado right now. So, even a guy that took a chance on professional baseball still had a job when he was done, right? So, I think the need-based and the academic-based are where we're at. And again, the athletic-based money, there's just not as much out there as people think in the Division I and IIs. I mean, just because 11.7 is the maximum, it doesn't mean that programs are actually giving that.
Right. Does academics really matter when it comes to recruiting a player? Is it important? That's a question they asked me, so I'm just going to ask it.
For every college it is, because like I just said, if schools can, if they can bundle athletic money and academic money, all right, and Jermaine, you're amazing, and you've got 1,500 SATs, and I've got 1,000. They're going to go after you instead of me, right? Because they can give you all kinds of academic money. They want you, right? Me, they're not going to give me any academic money. Now they got to give me all the athletic money. So grades are huge, huge.
Interesting. I didn't know that. And social media, how does that affect the recruiting process? And what's your advice?
Well, my advice is I don't look at social media a lot, but we had a coach with us that was the first thing he did when anybody was in touch with us. He would look, say, here's their Twitter profile. Is this somebody we want to recruit? So people look at it, right? I mean, everybody looks at your social profile. So put things on there that you want mom and dad to see and you want college coaches to see, for sure, with social media.
And this is the last question I have before I open it up. How much does a parent/family play a part in the recruiting process? Can a parent affect the situation?
Positively and negatively. Yeah, for sure. Buck Showalter said something really great. He said he would rather see a kid spend 2 hours with his family than watch him play for 9 innings. He said you can tell more about a person, whether they're going to be somebody you want affiliated with you, by watching them interact with their parents. So college coaches watch a lot. If we see a number that we like on the field, you better believe we watch you walk and talk to mom and dad. Yeah, for sure. It's a big deal how you interact with your parents, how your parents interact with you. And we need 8 kids every year in our program, right? And I just told you we got a kid coming from Virginia, Maryland, California, all over the place. So, it's an important factor. I remember distinctly being in New Jersey one time, watching a kid, big, good-looking kid, good player. He came up and talked to his dad, who I didn't know was his dad, and then just,
really, just like that.
Just like that. And I'll give you another anecdote. I told a coach to specifically watch a kid during the summer. I said, this kid's a good player. He can play for you. And he did pretty well. He had 2 or 3 hits in that game. I went over and talked to the coach afterwards. I said, what did you think? He goes, I don't need him. I go, played pretty good. What didn't you like? He goes, didn't run down to first base hard once. Not once, Rob. Not once. I said, if he can't run down hard to first, what do I need that kid for? Kid just had 2 or 3 hits. Pretty good player, too. Pretty physical. So, they watch everything. Run hard. Play hard.
That's a lesson learned for everybody.
And that kid ended up playing college baseball, too. So he learned his lesson.
I'm going to open it up for a few. James, turn on your video. Let me unmute you.
Hello?
Yeah, can you turn on your video?
Yeah, here, I'll try. Can you see me?
Yeah, nice hair.
Show hair.
So my first question is, what type of things do you look for in catchers during the recruiting process?
So catcher's defense is really the main deal, right? So, receiving is a lost art, really. We saw one kid a couple years ago, and he was only a sophomore. I watched him, and I went right to the guy that was in charge of that organization. I said, "Who's this kid? And he can play. I like him." He's like, "Yeah, he's a good player too." But he could receive. He made every pitcher look better by his receiving, right? We all get caught up in pop times. It's super important, right? You got to throw guys out. Man, you receive the ball a lot more than you throw it. So working on your receiving, I think, is really big. And you can stand out receiving for sure. This kid was a left-handed hitter. He ended up playing Division II. But he was a good receiver, and that really caught my eye. And when we have camp too, well, our pitching coaches love guys that are good receivers, right? Why do you think? Because they make them look better.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I would say this doesn't show up in any showcase or any environment like that, but keep working with your pitching staff and your coaches on sequencing and calling a game, because the better you are at that, that's a huge thing. If guys aren't shaking you off all the time, if you know what they want to throw and you're comfortable with them, we ask our guys, we ask our pitchers, hey, we got 4 catchers. Who do you like throwing to best? And they rank them.
So connection with the pitcher is a big deal?
Big deal. Really big deal.
Okay. Yeah. I have one more question. That is there certain aspects of a hitter's game that really stands out to coaches during the recruiting process? Like if a guy discipline's a big thing, is there a certain aspect of a hitter's game that really stands out?
I think for me, I do like to see plate discipline, like we talked about earlier, and then you just like to see rockets coming off your bat, right? I mean, if you make outs, right, but the ball hard, that's good. That's a good thing, right? You're going to strike out, right? Just all right, you struck out. Don't call more attention to yourself by yelling at the umpire, making a scene out of it. You struck out. All right, moving on, right? We learn a lot with failure as we do with success too, right? So, just play the game. It's a hard game. We all understand that. If a coach comes watch you and you don't get a hit, but you worked some counts, you got on base, you hit a couple rockets, you're going to come up going, oh, man, I didn't get a hit today. The coach is going to be like, hey, that was a pretty good game. That kid did a good job today. All right, so we look at things a little bit differently sometimes than you might think.
What about is there any ways to separate yourself besides the results? Because I try to tell the young players, you could separate yourself by having energy, talking on the field, having that, that attitude, like the winning mindset, in my opinion, or the college mindset. I feel like that's more college than pro. Pro, you know how pro is, everyone's just sitting on the seat and they don't really care. But college, everyone's rooting, high energy, ready to go. So you tell me, is that a way to separate yourself amongst your peers?
Yeah, I think it does matter. You don't have to have a super high motor, but that helps you get noticed too. We had a freshman this year that I did get to see him 3 or 4 times. Actually, a Maryland kid, but I really liked him, and we wanted to make sure we got him. So I did see him a lot, and I liked the way he played the game. Just played the game, right? He played the game the right way, and he was positive. And your shortstop's a leader, right? Catcher, shortstop, those guys are hugely important, right? So his first game at R.I.T, our coaching staff said, hey, man, I really like the way Nate plays the game. He's got a good energy about him, right? So it's not a real quantifiable thing for you, but yes, your energy is important. If you're just going to, and it works negative too. Again, you get drawn to these big, sexy 6'3" kids, right? And you watch the kid just walk out there and barely throw the ball across the diamond, cross him right off. It doesn't matter how many tools he's got, just cross him right off. He's not going to help you at all. Not at all.
Amazing. James, you good?
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, James.
Thank you.
Let me give me a second here. All right. Mike.
Yeah.
Ask your question.
Okay, so What kind of advice would you give a player like me? So I'm 12 years old in seventh grade. Is there like any advice you can give me? Because at home I'm hitting off of the tee in my room and doing defense off of the wall and throwing it at my target piece of paper. So is there anything else I can do at home?
Hey, it's funny that you say that. I remember being your age and even a little bit older, being in the basement, just throwing balls off the wall and throwing balls off the wall and just trying to just stay active and do things. But just stay active and do things. Like I said earlier, just have joy for what you're doing. And again, the social distancing thing, if you've got, friends that are close enough that your parents will let you interact with, if you've got brothers and sisters, mom and dad, play wiffle ball, have fun with it again. Just this is the time to make sure you're having fun with it, especially your age. We have a summer baseball program, and if you're not enjoying your time, then there's something wrong with it. So just love the game, play hard, have fun. You look like you're going to be a beast anyways. So, you got that physical aspect down, right? But 12, you can leave the yard a lot, right? Get down to the diamond, and again, if you can in your community, get out there and just play a little home run ball, right? Just go out there and drop some bombs and have some fun. But keep swinging every day and keep throwing every day if you can, like that, and working off a wall, a little wall ball and stuff like that. It's always good.
That's all you got, Mike?
Yep.
Thanks,
all right, Mike. Brian.
Coach. How's it going?
Hey, Brian.
So I have two questions. So you mentioned before how you guys as a team are goal oriented. So I was wondering, is that more like overarching goals for like your entire team, like a record, or is it like individual goals for each of your players?
Yeah, so both, right? I think we put everybody in a room and we kind of pound out the goals, and we try and stay away from, hey, we need 30 wins and this and that. We try and stay, process oriented. I said that earlier, but I think process is really important. And even on the individual side, there's only so much you can control. And what if you have a bad streak? Do you readjust your goals? I think you do, right? If you're like, hey, I need to hit 350 this year, and for some reason you go 0 for 10, you're squaring up balls, but you're not getting hits, readjust. And then have a short memory and look back and go, last 3 games, I'm hitting 400, and just keep that going, right? So goals can be super good, and they can also get in your way. They can really be something that can be tough on you if they're number goals, right? So I like goals. I think everybody should be goal oriented. But if, again, Jermaine talks about it a lot, if you have a good process and you can trust your process, know that you're going to be the type of player that's going to be on the winning side. And that's really all that matters at the end. Did you win? Did you win today?
Thank you. And also, so it's more specifically, so what do you guys look for in developing your pitchers? Because I don't know, because you mentioned some other like technology you have, like the hit tracks, but do you have like Rapsoda or anything like that?
Oh yeah. We got it all now. We got 3D motion capture, all kinds of crazy stuff that we haven't even broke out yet. But Rapsoda is nice because it gives you some data to look at. But one of the nice things too is, a buddy of mine is the Colorado Rockies pitching coordinator, and I was talking to him about it because he started using it this past summer. And he uses it a lot. I said, hey, what's the best thing about it? He goes, sometimes the best thing about it is your eyes see something and then the data says exactly the same thing. That's really important. Hey, you're on the side of the ball. Well, you look at the spin rate and you can see the spin rate, and it means you're on the side of the ball. So now we got to get back behind the ball a little bit better so your spin efficiency is better. So yeah, technology is really important for us. But you still need your eyes. You still need to have a feel for it. You still need to know what you're doing. We have 3 different guys that can work with pitchers. We're really blessed. But I think the big thing is we talk about throwing more than we talk about pitching, right? So we're looking for good core throwing skills, and we're going to build your good core throwing skills. And once you've got that, then, when you're only on the mound a certain amount of times, obviously we're going to want you to throw strikes and, be nasty and get guys out and everything like that. But it starts with good core throwing skills. And I don't know how old you are, but you look like you're older than 12.
Yeah.
So, long toss program and all that kind of stuff, right? But make sure you're talking to somebody about what you're doing and you're just not working for the sake of work. Make sure you're working smart, especially as a pitcher. You can only do this so many times, right? Hitters, if they hit 1,000 times in a day, they're like, great, you hit 1,000 times today. But you can't throw 1,000 times a
Yeah.
day. So be super careful and then have a plan. If you don't have a plan, reach out to somebody to help give you a plan of how much you should throw.
I just have one more question off of that. So did your coaching staff, like, how did they learn the Raps Photo data and like how to apply that to your pitchers? Because I like the data analytics stuff a lot, but I don't really know where to start. So, like I've been listening to like some podcasts and read up on like drive line stuff, but not that much.
Yeah, we have one coach that's driveline certified.
Okay.
So he went out there and got driveline certified. And then most of my coaches graduated from R.I.T. They're super smart.
Yeah.
They figure this stuff out so fast.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, I mean, the YouTube podcast, all that stuff's really good because we've actually done that ourselves because we were curious about what we were getting ourselves into. And we were trying to learn before we got the stuff. And then as we had the stuff, we were trying to figure out what other people liked about it. And are we looking at the same thing, the right thing? So I think you're onto something with that. But if you need help with that, Jermaine has my contact information. I can put you in touch with some of the right people to do that. Non-recruiting violation type of stuff. Help you out with,
Thank you.
That type of thing.
What I have a question for you, Coach Growe. What is your tips for the mental game for someone that let's say they're in high school and they're converting to college? What is the difference between a successful college person and the high school kid, or just tips in general as far as the mental side of baseball?
So for me, the mental game's always been important. And you wouldn't know it when I was young because I had quite a temper, I'm told. I was quite competitive. But the mental side of it, I really did try and address, and I tried to make sure that I was more in the moment and I didn't get away from myself too much, right? I think that's the biggest thing is having something that will get you in the moment, something that will calm your mind. Baseball's so much different. Brian, I don't know if you're a football player and stuff like that. I saw the jersey behind and everything like that. It's way different than football, right? You can't run faster and hit somebody harder in baseball, right? You've got to just be ready to compete. And so for me, it was always about calming myself and reminding me of my process, going through my process, and then getting up and having a clear mind when I was hitting. That was the biggest thing for me. So whatever you can find is a good mental process, cleansing breath. There's all kinds of videos out there on things that can help you. But again, same thing as the recruiting process, make it your own. Whatever works for you is a good process. So there's a lot of things out there on mental training. And I highly recommend you have something that gets you in a good state to compete, calm, relaxed, and react.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your time. I'm going to let you go and eat dinner with your family. And, I appreciate it. But we'll be messaging pretty soon.
Yeah. And any of the guys are on. It was great having you. Thank you very much. We're just in it to make baseball players better and more fun, right? I think, Jermaine, and I'm glad that we found each other. I like you a lot and I love being able to talk, have you as a resource in the area has been awesome. So anytime I can be part of it, I love it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Bye, boys.
Bye.